Second panel, if you'll, gentlemen, would come forward. We're joined today by the 7 members of the Loft hacker think tank in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Due to the sensitivity of the work done at the Loft, they'll be using their hacker names of Mudge, Weld, Brian Oblivion, Kingpin, Space Rogue, Tan, and Stefan. Gentlemen?
I thought you were the kingpins.
I hope my grandkids don't ask me who my witnesses were today and say Space Rogue. But we do understand your need to do that. We appreciate your being with us. May I ask your name in the middle?
I'm Mudge.
You're Mudge. Mudge, would you like to make a statement?
Yes, I would. Thank you very much for having us here. We think this is hopefully a very great step forward, and are thrilled that the government in general is starting to approach the hacker community. We think there's a tremendous asset that the hackers actually bring to the table here in understanding. My handle is Mudge. I and the 6 individuals seated before you, which we'll run down the line: Brian Oblivion, this is John Tan, Kingpin, Weld Pond, Space Rogue, and Stefan von Neumann make up the hacker group known as the Loft. For the past 4 years, the 7 of us has been touted as just about everything from the hacker conglomerate, a hacker think tank, the hangout place for the top U.S. hackers, network security experts, and a consumer watch group. In reality, all we really are is just curious. For well over the past decade, the 7 of us have independently learned and worked in the fields of satellite communications, cryptography, operating system design and implementation, computer and network security, electronics and telecommunications. Throughout our learning process, we've made a few waves with some large companies such as Microsoft, IBM, Novell, and Sun Microsystems. At the same time, the top hackers and the top legitimate cryptographers and computer security professionals pay us visits when they're in town, just to see what we're currently working on. So we kind of figure we must be doing something right. I'd like to take this opportunity to let the various members talk about a few of their previous projects, their current projects, and what they're going to be working on in the future. Weld?
And if you've heard the testimony this morning, if there are any points that in the process that you want to make fairly briefly with regard to some of the previous questions or testimony, you can feel free to do that also.
Definitely will.
Good morning. My name is Weld Pond. I'm a hacker and programmer with over 10 years experience working as a software developer in the commercial software industry. My college training is as a computer engineer. At the Loft, I specialize in writing software programs for exploring computer network security and operating system security. My current projects include finding vulnerabilities in Microsoft Windows NT security. I'm actively working on LoftCrack, a program that we've created to exploit the weaknesses in Windows NT's password security, which uses cryptography to secure the passwords, but we have found vulnerabilities in their implementation. This program has been extremely well received by military, government, and corporate security groups who use it to test their own passwords for weaknesses. Prior to the release of this program, security experts claimed it would take thousands of years to uncover a Windows NT password, and our program can do it in days and sometimes, some cases, hours. As a licensed amateur radio operator, I also enjoy radio communications. A future project plan is collaborating with the Loft hardware people to create secure public wireless networks, something that we're very interested in.
Good morning. My name is Kingpin. I am the youngest member of the Loft and one of the electrical engineers and hardware hackers. While some of the Loft members concentrate on software programming, I work with hardware design and implementation of electronic circuits. My interests include embedded system design, surveillance and counter-surveillance tools, and wireless data transmissions. My current research project involves experimentation with the monitoring and eavesdropping of stray electromagnetic fields from computer terminals, otherwise known as tempest monitoring. Using low-cost electronic equipment, one can capture the contents of computer screens from more than 200 meters away, possibly gaining passwords and other sensitive information. The phenomenon of tempest monitoring has been known to the industry for decades, but there is not much unclassified information available on how to both capture the emissions and also protect oneself from becoming an eavesdropping victim. My research will not only help me learn about the monitoring technology, it will enable me to educate others to help them protect their computer systems from prying eyes.
My name is John Tan. At 28, I've been involved with computers, telecommunications, and security for 14 years now, the last 8 of which have been spent in the financial services industry. My involvement with the Loft has primarily been nondescript, but I've achieved some notoriety in terms of documentation of some existing problems with Novell NetWare and a compilation of my newly created Palm Pilot document library. Recently, I've consulted for various manufacturing, financial services, and management consulting firms regarding information security policy and how to establish a corporate security effort. I will continue in the future to pursue an understanding of the risks of the information age and communicate those findings to the government, the industry, and the media to provide a clear, consistent message of where we are and where we need to go.
Good morning. I'm Space Rogue. Although my background contains no formal computer training, I have amassed a great deal of knowledge in computer security and the use of technology applications in the area of physical security. Currently, I'm working on assessing the vulnerabilities in various proximity detection devices, such as those used by EasyPass, Mobile Speed Pass, and controlled access cards. In conjunction with Stefan von Neumann, seated here today, and others in the hacking community, I'm acting seeking vulnerabilities in Apple Share IP by Apple Computer. I wish to take this opportunity to thank the members of this committee for inviting us here today.
Good morning. My pen name is Brian Oblivion. My focus currently is microprocessor system design, satellite communications equipment, wireless communications architecture, and systems administration. Over the past few years, I have conducted research on the cellular networks, exploring the unencrypted data channels and their protocols explored the easily bypassed hardware-based, non-cryptographic authentication used to track call expenses. Recently, I'm researching various digital decoding methodologies involving both dedicated hardware and software analysis via digital signal processing. This will result in the exposing of claimed secure wireless messaging and communication systems, and thus increasing the requirement of a more secure communications infrastructure. As an amateur radio operator, I am exploring authentication methods for amateur radio data networks. Technology developed in this arena will be applied to commercial wireless networking products, protocols and equipment that will utilize not only authentication, but encryption of the radio channel as well. The Loft for me provides a much-needed avenue for the dissemination of the present state of insecurity among various consumer networks and products. If it wasn't for groups such as ours and other motivated individuals in the security community, the state of awareness we have today would be years behind. Thank you.
My name is Stefan von Neumann. I have been working with Loft since 1993, focusing primarily on high-power electronics, flaws in data networks, and the increasing convergence of power distribution and data distribution. My professional background includes supporting users on common computing products and networks, which gives me first-hand experience with how relatively unaware of computing risks most users are. Even worse, software publishers, internet providers, and utility companies are tight-lipped about flaws or risks inherent in products and services that touch the daily lives of most Americans. For example, in many areas of the country, including Boston area, electric utility companies are using radio transmissions and/or power lines to transmit data, meter data, from customer locations. These same utility companies are also using such data transmissions for controlling their power systems. Even public water companies are using radio transmissions for controlling their water systems. In the same way that the so-called phantom controller was able to impersonate an airport control tower and issue instructions to a pilot, one could impersonate a legitimate utility company and disrupt water or electric service. Another example is internet data sent over cable television systems. Most customers of these services are not aware of the potential for another user to watch their private, quote-unquote, communications across the cable TV network. And worse, the users are not aware of the possibility that an improperly configured computer could make available their data without their knowledge. I would personally like to see that the same type of independent review process that should exist for software companies extended to utility companies and internet service providers. Finally, customers and end users should be made aware of the risks. Thank you for having us here.
I'm one of the network system and cryptography wizards at the Loft. Basically, I'm the person who breaks into the systems and undermines the network security, and that's what I do in my day job. Companies like that. Some of my previous projects were Loftcracked, along with Weld Pond, in which we developed the tool for showing administrators and users the insecurities of Microsoft's passwords. I've released several security advisories on various pieces of commercial software, which have prompted vendor patches, which means they improved the software after we pointed it out to them. Unfortunately, many